Hey, how's it all going out there in YouTube land? And yeah, what's on the table today? Well, I had a bit of a question about my frosty tea burner. As you've just seen, you probably read the title and sort of know what it's going to be about. But yeah, my frosty tea burner and what I've done and how it works sort of thing, and the old forge that I put it in. So yeah, without too much more jibber-jabbering, let's get into it. Just bear in mind, I'm not a gas fitter, so take a bit of this with a grain of salt. What I'm showing people is what I've done, not necessarily what you should do. If you've got any safety concerns, let me know in the comments and I'll try and improve my process. But yeah, so far she works pretty good, and it's what I use to harden and temper my fly vice jaws and the knives that I make and things like that. So yeah, like I said, no more jibber jabber. We'll just get stuck straight into it and see what we come up with here. So yeah, a little correction on what I was just saying. Have I tempered in this? Yes, I have. Is it ideal for tempering? No, not really. Usually, yeah, what I'll use is a benchtop oven. I harden things in here and I anneal them generally. If I'm making a knife, I'll stick it in there and I'll close up the doors, you'll see in a minute, and let it cool down and so forth and so on. So you will just take a look at the side of it and what I've done here. I've used soft fire bricks. I've got 1, 2, 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top, and 1 on each side there like that. So dimensions of those would be around about, it's hard to get that in there, they're about 115 odd millimeters that way by 230 that way. Soft fire bricks, yeah, they work pretty good. They hold the temperature in there. And for the top, what I've done, I've made up a stainless steel frame. Bit boogie in a way, but generally I'll just use whatever I had at hand. So it's a 50 by 50, I think, by 3. No, a lie, it's 40 by 40 by something. So I made up a frame there and put a top on here, which you can see that's stainless steel. This is a frosty tea burner, as you probably know, that I've made up. And this here piece of pipe with 3 bolts and nuts to adjust it just to get it in the center. The top brick in there, I've drilled a hole right through it. I'm not going to take it to bits. And then I've got the frame bottom and top, and this all thread or threaded rod, depending what you call it, whatever industry you're in. That's what it is, and this just clamps down and holds that fairly securely in there. You'll note too, this garage leaks a bit and you get a bit of moisture in it. You can see here you've got a crack running right through it, but it still works good. Yeah, so soft fire bricks, the reason I can drill that hole easy enough, and it's yeah, they work pretty well and hold the heat. And it's just sitting on an old site table that I had, again just using what I've got to get through what I need to do. So yeah, that's what it's made up of. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, probably 8 bricks there. So naturally you can see we're looking at the front now, and you can see the frame there thing. What I've got over here, if we take that one out, I've just made up a slider for that front door brick, whatever you want to call it. That's again just used whatever I had, a bit of box and something underneath it. On the front I've used the hard fire bricks. Yeah, just slides across there and closes it off if I need to do that. If I did it again, what I probably would put a hard fire brick in there, because this soft stuff does wear quite quickly. But yeah, it's no worries. I've got some other bits over there to add in if I need to, but that's just one point to keep in mind. They do wear. Hard fire brick I'd probably put in the bottom, like I said, but never mind, that's how it is. So my actual opening, my little box in there is, if I can see that ruler there, it's about 220 millimeters by just over 100. So that's what I've got there. Fly vice jaws are really quite small, so I didn't need much, and that's how I started, and that's why I made it in the first place. But I can fit about 12 inches of steel in there to make a knife. That's about the excess of it. And got a back door on it as well, which I'll show you in a second. So pretty simple construction there really, and yeah, pretty much what it is. So she's a bit dark and dingy in the old workshop at the minute, but hopefully you can see the back of it there. This brick here slides as well, so longer blades I can poke through and still heat treat them and stuff like this. There's no slider on this because this was an afterthought. Originally I had it clamped in, so that was stuck there. I found the frosty tea burns and works a little bit better, quite often if I can open it up and get a little bit more air into the chamber. Don't really know the science behind it, but that's just what I've found works. If you look down there, you can probably see again how she's wearing out, but I've been using this for over a year, probably 2 years now, making about one knife a week, and fly vice jaws in there as well, so it's lasting pretty good. I do realise I'll have to change those bricks out at some stage, but for the minute, yeah, they work pretty good. I might have mentioned, I might not, there is a bit of moisture in here which can absorb into the bricks, so you've just got to be a bit wary of that when you fire it up, because it can cause cracking, I guess, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's about the forge in a nutshell, really. So now we'll have a look at the rest of it, yeah. So moving on, a look at the top. This here, if you're familiar, you probably are. You probably wouldn't be watching this anyway. This is what they call a frosty tea burner, designed by somebody called Frosty, I think. But anyway, and you'll note that it's slightly different to other ones you see online, because again, I just scavenged up whatever bits and pieces that I had. We'll take a close-up look at what I've got in a minute, but yeah, I've used stainless pipe and stainless fittings. So I'm just coming up onto here, and that's actually a bolt, which I'll show you in close-up as well. I'll just come onto here. There's a 6mm stainless tube. In here I've got a ball valve just for turning it off and on, and this really here is just to hold it on this boogie old clamp frame thing I've got here. This isn't actually what it looks like, it's just holding that tube. And then we're running over here into the regulator and the gas stuff. If you're making one, you just need to be aware that your gas fittings are slightly different threads to other threads, so they're a little bit different. But that's all good. So not much to that. We're going to have a close-up in a second. But before we do, one important thing to note is that, so like I was just saying, one important thing to note if you're new to doing this sort of burner thing, you will need a different gauge than a normal barbecue one. I did try a normal barbecue gauge, a regulator, sorry. Yeah, it didn't really work too well. This one here is a 30 PSI gas regulator that I bought online, and if I can find the link to that, I'll put it down below, but I probably can't because I bought that like 3 years ago. Had it sitting here, so no really idea where I got it. But one thing you will need, because you've got this adjustment here, which you don't have on your normal barbecue one. So it'll go up to 30 PSI. When I fire it up and normally open the bottle, I'll get this cranked down a little bit, so I don't really know what PSI I'm running it on. I'll open it up, fire it up, and then slowly crank this up where it runs, where I want it to be. At the minute, you might notice when we fire it up that it's messing around a little bit and fluttering and so forth. It's because I'm nearly out of gas. I probably am out of gas, but never mind. So I'll open it up and I'll crank it up. When I've got a full gas bottle, I can normally get it full noise, but yeah, it's just tweaking around. But that's one thing to note. You will need a 30 PSI or similar regulator to actually run them. So if you can see this in the camera and you're looking down here, this is the little drawings that are made up. So for the nozzle that the gas runs through, you might note too, again, this is a little bit different to your standard design that you'll get, although it's very, very similar. If you look online, there's probably wherever you get your frosty tea burner design from, but yeah, I've just used what I had, like I said, 10 times. Up here, this is a nozzle that I put in, so what I've used there are 0.9 MIG tips. So a variety there, I've got some there. These ones here I bought off AliExpress. I got this whole box, I think there was 20 in here for the price. I could get them down here in Kiwiland for 5. So that wasn't too bad. Would I use them for MIG welding structural steel? Probably not. But yeah, they'd work all right. But never mind, that's another story. So that's your MIG tip is 0.9 if you're wondering. If you're thinking about making them and you're wondering what the thread is on the MIG tip, it's just M6. So that's all good. From there, what I've done is I've drilled out this here bolt, if you can see it. Drilled that bolt out right through and put a fitting on the top. I've got a nut on here because what you need to do is inside your T here, I'll tip it up, you need to get that MIG nozzle there, centre in here. So it needs to be in the centre of this T for best results. And so when I was tweaking it up and getting it right, what I've done is made that bolt there, which threads in here, an M12, and so I have adjustment, so I could get that height there where I needed it and where I wanted it. So to get that, what I've done is I've taken one of these, that there being a 1/2 inch, whatever it is. You'll note too that down here we use metric measurements, but these are pipe fittings, so they generally come in imperial. So I've taken one of those, pardon me, and I've welded it onto the top of here. You need to get it all center in here. You need to get it all central. This one here I'm going to have to cut off and redo because it's slightly not right. So that's why this prototype type thing is here. Yeah, so that goes into the air and your gas comes through. On the bottom here, you can buy standard pipe fittings. You can get a certain length, which will have a thread on the end of it. And that's what people normally use by doing a bit of looking online. But for what I had these fittings here, which are 3/4 weld nipples. And so that's what I used to fit into that. That there is a 3/4 BSPT. I could have used 3/4 pipe, but I didn't have any. So what I've used is 3/8 Schedule 10 pipe, which means if you're looking down here, you can see my measurement there. I might do a close-up on that, but my measurement there is what I had to do is I got a length of pipe. You can see I've got marks on there you might not be able to see. I've stuck it in, tried it at a certain length and then cut it off and brought it back to where it worked the best. It was a bit fiddly to set up. It was a bit temperamental, to be fair, but once I got it, it was pretty good. So that came down onto there. One thing also I will note is when you put it in the vise like that and fire it up, it works fine. Put it in the forge and it didn't work very well at all. So what it needs, and most of them will have, is a reducer on the end, some type. You can see here I've got a Schedule 40, which will be a 3/8 to 1 inch reducer. And what I tend to do in the other machine is you might note there I've got 25mm. I'll cut this down to 25mm and put it on the bottom. I tried bigger ones, smaller ones, and without it, and I found that this one worked the best for me. So that's what I've done. So yeah, adjustment in there, get it all central, get that piece, the tip in the middle, and tends to work all right. Your lengths here you may have to tweak around. So that'll be welded on the way we go. So yeah, that's the basics of my Frosty T burner thing. So yeah, for the purpose of the video, I've just stuck this little one and just give you a rundown on how I set it up. It's only how I set it up. What I would recommend is you check these fittings with soapy water before you get too carried away, especially when you put it on your machine. Just make sure nothing's leaking. Which begs the question, do you need, if you've had much experience with oxyacetylene plants, you have flashback arresters and one-way valves and all the rest of it, do you need it on this, or does the regulator do it? You can tell me in the comments because I don't really know. I did research it online and couldn't find anything. Anyway, I haven't got one, so that's that. We'll move forward. So you've got your MIG tip in the center. I tried it with just a pipe and it didn't run too well. I've just tacked it up again for the purpose of the video. So I set it up in there like that and got my lengths right and fired it up. So we'll fire it up and see if she goes, and you'll get an idea how and things and what I did. So let's go. So you can see there, just started it. Like I say, I'm probably running out of gas. It's running not too bad. And you can crank it up. When they're going properly, they should be roaring. You can see a bit of red in that flame, so I don't know if it's neutral, but slowly crank it up. You might note if you do a lot of research online that some people have things they put over the tea here so you can adjust the flame, the richness of it or whatever, the amount of air going through it. I don't have that, I just run it like it is. Wrong button. So that's how she runs in there. You'll also note that I haven't cut this reducer down. I found for best results, it's like I said before, I'll cut it down. But that's the essence of it, and that's how that one runs. So we'll go back over to our forge and we'll run it in there. So we'll give it a run and just show you how she works. I have in these parts here, you'll see I've used heat resistance, thread seal, thread tape, whatever you call it, just things like that. Again, you just want to check, make sure you've got no leaks. You want to be careful with that sort of stuff, I guess. So yeah, what do? Turn on the bottle and away we go. Yeah, let's have a look. Wrong way. Like I also said, and might not have said anyway, I did find in my experience, it's gone out, I turned it off too far. Anyway, just by the way, I did find a little bit more tweaking from the vice to here because it does run differently in the forge, in my experience, than it did in the vice. So yeah, a little bit of mucking around to get them right, but once they're right, they tend to run pretty well. So that's with the pressure just on, down. That's for a noise. So yeah, that's about that in a nutshell. Will it get it hot enough to forge weld? Don't know, never tried it, but definitely gets the steel hot enough to harden and temper. Not temper again, I said the wrong thing. To harden it and anneal it and do what I have to do. If you want to have a look at me using it, just flick back through some of my other videos. Yeah, that's about that. So we'll do a little outro, call it a day, and hope you've enjoyed it so far. So there's my forge and my dirty old frosty tea burner, and yeah, any other questions you got, just flick them in the comments and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Once again, just bear in mind your safety, if you're not familiar with this sort of thing, then get it checked out. I will cross paths with someone who's an expert on this one day and I'll get them to check it out. Yeah, I'm not an expert on it. I just did what I had to do and got it going as good as I can. Does it work? Yes, works really, really well. I'm very happy with it. Simple sort of construction and just chucked together whatever I had lying around and got it working. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little video and it's found you safe and well. And yeah, that's about all I've got to say on it so far. So yeah, enjoy yourself and have a great afternoon.